Hello, everyone. This is Ross Carpri again with Keller Williams. Just want to say welcome. Today, I'm going to talk about what an agent does when they're contacted by a customer to come put their house on the market. There's a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes that not many people know about. So I thought I would share that with you guys today. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always contact me at 205-601-0123 or shoot me a text and I'll be more than happy to answer. When we get a call from a seller wanting to put their house on the market, the main things they want to know is obviously the price. What's a good price we can put it at, and what we think the condition of the house is. And they always want us to go out and take a look and tell me what it needs. That's the kind of things that we get. Tell me what it needs. If it needs to be fixed up, if it needs something put up, if it needs a wall fixed, if it needs this or needs that. They want to know from us because we're familiar with what buyers are looking for. So we basically go out to the house. The first thing I do, of course, is to walk around the entire home with them. They'll explain things that they've done, repairs that they've made. The main things I'm looking for as a realtor is the age of the roof, age of the heating and air system, um, any kind of foundation issues they may have had, age of the deck, things that are pretty big ticket items to know whether it's something that needs to be addressed in the future or if it's something that has already been taken care of. So I sit down or go around with them throughout the entire house, look over everything, look over condition of the home, or clothes picked up, or beds made, or things put away in the restrooms, or things put away in the closets. Things I usually try to make recommendations. If I see something that needs to be addressed, I usually do it at that time. Let them know this is what people want to see. They want to see your home in tip-top condition because you're asking a certain price for that home. Once I finish doing that with them, then we'll sit down at the table and just go over what we've witnessed. If we see things that need to be picked up, if we see something that's broken that needs to be repaired, if we see something that is cracked or damaged in some way, how can we get that resolved so that we can get the house in tip-top shape? Most sellers are open to that. A lot of times they don't want to spend a lot of money to get the house ready to sell, but most of the time the recommendations we make are things that will make it sell quicker. We try to be very cognizant of what a buyer's looking for so that when the buyer comes in to look at the house when it's put on the market, then they'll get good feedback and hopefully get an offer. So then what we'll do is we'll do the paperwork, we'll do the listing, we'll coordinate with them when they want to make it active. Most of the time it's within a week. We'll do that. We'll talk to them about that. We'll sit down with them and also talk about how they want the property to be shown, if they want to be notified at each showing, if the house is going to be available all the time, or do they have to have some type of notice? Usually families with kids and with pets, they usually like to have a little bit of notice just to kind of pick up and straighten some things out before someone comes to look at the home. After we do that, then we'll kind of coordinate with them on documents that we need as a realtor to get in place so that if and when the property does get a contract, then we'll turn around and contact the title company, contact the closing attorney, get them on board, get an inspector on board, get the repair addendum on board as far as any repairs once the house is shown. If someone puts an offer on it, more than likely they're going to have it inspected. We'll work throughout all of that with the seller. So there's a lot of things that we do that people just kind of take for granted, don't really know what we do. So that's why I thought I would share this with you today. And then, of course, when the house is put on the market and the showings begin, once we get a contract on the property, then we go to work behind the scenes getting the documents ready for the closing. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and we'll probably go into that another day. But we have to get the payoff of the property. We have to get the repair addendum squared away, make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody agrees to everything that we've talked about. So once that happens, then we go to the closing. Usually takes about 30 days, maybe 45 in some cases. And we'll get with the attorney and coordinate everything with them as well, so that once we go to the closing, it's a smooth transaction. That's what we strive for. So getting back to that, there's a lot of things that we do, a lot of things that we do that people don't know about. So anytime you get ready to sell your home, give one of us a call. We'll take a look at it, give you some ideas, put it on the market, and hopefully get the price that you're looking for so that we can find you another home. And if you decide to find another home, then you need a mortgage, you could always call Andy Gagliano, Gagliano Mortgage. And having said that, I'm going to turn it over to him and he can explain a little bit on his side of the business.
I would love that. And thank you, Ross. I appreciate you having me on today to talk a little bit about this. And before I jump into my part, I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
So I saw an article today, and you know as well as I do, with 24-hour news and all these websites, there's people writing articles about things that they don't really need to be writing articles about. They're not the experts, but they come across that way because they're writing for, maybe it's a high profile website. But
Yep.
the article I saw said that home buyers decide within the first 8 seconds of seeing a home as to whether or not they'll be interested in buying it. Now, that seems like an awfully short period of time to me, but let's say it's 10 times that. Let's say it's 100 times that. Let's say it's 800 seconds before they decide whether or not they want to buy that house. Do you agree that the condition of the house when it's shown is extremely important for not scaring off potential buyers?
Absolutely, 1000%. I don't know what the average is, like you're saying, 8 seconds, 80 seconds, or whatever, but I do know that when people go into a home, they can tell pretty quickly, maybe within the first 5 minutes, if it's something that they think they would be interested in. There's something about that home when they walk in that screams their name. It
Mm-hmm.
might be the size of the kitchen. Maybe the wife that's looking wants a bigger kitchen to begin with. It's bigger than what she has. So anytime she sees something that's bigger than what she has in the size of a kitchen, for example, that's going to grab her attention. And then from that point, she's going to look at, how many cabinets, what kind of countertops, what kind of appliances, and that kind of thing. What can she do to make it her own? Um, but I do know 1000% that if clothes are picked up, if things are neat, if dishes are put up, if there's not any leftover food on the countertop, those are all important things that will turn me off as a buyer. A lot of people can't look past that. They want to look and see what would it look like if they fix it up to their taste. And that
Mm-hmm.
usually includes being clean, having things picked up, dishes out of the sink, trash put away. Now when you have pets, you have dog bowls and water bowls and things laid out. That's even fine. I've gone in several homes where the dog bowl and the water bowl is cleaner than what most people drink out of. But then I've gone in others where it's not.
Right.
So it plays a big part in the cleaner you have your home, that's one less thing the buyer has to overlook. And
Gotcha.
it makes it a lot easier. I've never seen a clean house not sell. Period. Now, I've seen a lot of nice houses that were not clean that didn't sell. And
Yeah.
a lot of that has to do with what people are walking into, because the perception buyers have is if these people are neat and clean and this house is spotless, they must take care of their home. That's just human nature.
So pride of ownership.
That's exactly right. So, and it takes into effect, I can take you to two houses right now that you can go in the house. There's not a thing out of place. You can go in the basement. There's not a thing out of place.
Hmm.
That's very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare. Less than 1%, I would say. Now, basements are catch-alls for a lot of people, and that's fine too. But I can take you to two homes right now where the basement is as clean as most people's upstairs. Now, that tells me something about the owners. It tells me something about the condition of the house. And if there were three or four houses lined up that I was going to purchase, that would be my number one choice for that reason, because I know that I'm getting a good product.
Yeah.
So, in
Okay.
answer to your question, absolutely. The cleaner, the better. And I know it's hard. It's never easy because no one lives the same. But when you're selling your home, you've got to turn it up a notch, and you've got to do some things that you don't normally do, but it's only temporary,
Right.
probably less than 30 days. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
answer to your question would be absolutely.
Okay. So along those same lines, though, are you seeing the houses that have been updated or renovated? Are you seeing those houses move a little quicker than the ones that haven't been?
Absolutely,
Okay.
because a lot of people want to purchase it like it is. They want to walk in and not have to do a thing. That's what most people want. Now, if it's, everybody's decorating taste is different. So
Sure.
if you get into one that's been updated and upgraded, well, that's great and wonderful. But if it doesn't suit your taste, then it really doesn't matter,
Right.
because the buyer's saying, "Oh, guys, that's great. They've got new countertops, but they're ugly. And now I'm going to have to spend money to get new ones," and then it creates that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's upgraded and if it's tastefully done, a lot of people watch these these repair shows on TV, Chip and Joanna and all them. A lot of people like to do those projects. That's fine and dandy. But if it's already been done, in most cases, it's going to sell like it is
Yeah.
without having to redo it.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last question I have for you is, are there closing costs that a seller can expect to pay when they do go to closing? Are there some usual or normal closing costs for the Birmingham area?
Yes, yes. Most of the time, you have a seller side and a buying side. The buyers have their own closing costs. And of course, you can relate to that because you're in
Yeah.
that business. You got fees, you got inspections and blah blah blah. From a seller standpoint, they've got the real estate fees involved. They've got the payoff of their first mortgage involved. They've got property taxes that need to be prorated. If there's any repairs that need to be done, if they're minor, and I say minor, things that need to be a small something need to be replaced, or a light fixture needs to be replaced, things like that. Those are fees that are being incurred by the seller. Um, Typically, a survey, if one is required, of course, that's a buyer expense for the most part. But a lot of times, if a seller already has a current survey, they can utilize that and not have to spend money to get a new one. So yes, there are fees involved, and depending on the price of the house, is going to determine the size of the fees. But the seller has fees involved with the sale, and the buyers have fees involved with the sale. Both of them are different, but
Okay.
we do have that. So again, the amount is going to be coordinating with the price of the home.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, when a seller will call me and say, hey, I need to get pre-approved for a mortgage. A lot of times what we'll end up doing, we'll do a pre-qualification call with them right off the bat because they want to know how much of a house can I afford, because they know in their minds that they want to spend up to a certain amount of money
Right.
on the new house. And so they want to make sure that they can afford that. And, I think one of the things that we see a good bit, and I wish we saw less of it, is we see sellers assume that because they own a house today, they're not going to have a problem buying a house tomorrow. And that's not always the case.
No. No.
We have sellers come to us from time to time and say, "Hey, I've got a contract on my house and I found a new house that I want to buy, and Ross referred me to you, and I need to talk to you about getting my mortgage." So we go through and we have that conversation with them, and we determine that, well, one of the two wage earners just started a new business about a year ago. Well, all of a sudden, because of that, most of the time that wage earner is going to be not eligible for a mortgage because they're going to have been a business owner, been self-employed for at least 2 years. And so sometimes we have to have a very difficult conversation with a seller who either already has a contract on their house or who has already put their house on the market, to tell them, I'm sorry, but you don't qualify for a mortgage to buy any amount of house. And that's never a fun conversation for us to have, especially when somebody already does have a contract on the house that they're selling. So, it's never a bad idea. Even if a seller thinks that it's going to take me 4 months or 6 months to sell my home, which in this market in early 2024 is not very likely to happen. If it's a good property, as well as I do, they're going to get an offer on it pretty quickly and maybe multiple offers. But even if they think it's going to take a while for them to get a contract on their home that they're selling, it's still a good idea to go ahead and have that conversation with a mortgage professional and just determine how much money can you, the seller, qualify for before your house actually goes on the market. You're going to eliminate a lot of stress for yourself. You're going to eliminate a lot of embarrassment as well, because nobody wants to be told, hey, you can't qualify for a mortgage after they've already assumed that they have and got their house on the market. And so those conversations can be had. It's a 10, 15-minute phone call with a mortgage professional like myself for me just to review numbers, review that seller's situation, to let them know, hey, I see a potential issue with your qualifications, and here's what it is. How can we overcome it? Or, no, I don't see any issues with your qualifications. I think you're good to go to move forward and get your house sold and get out there and start looking at houses up to X number of dollars price range. And so it's not often that we get those phone calls from sellers ahead of time, but I think it's a great idea for a seller to go ahead and have that conversation with a mortgage professional. It'll just prevent a lot of frustration and grief and anguish going forward for them. So,
Well, I agree with you 100%, and I wish people would do that. But I know in talking to people myself, I'll ask them, they'll say something about, yeah, we want to move, and I'll, mention to them like, what based on your knowledge, what price point do you think you'll be in for your new home? Just so that I'll know kind of where to begin my search.
mhm.
Oh, I can go up to 600,000 if I wanted to, but I don't want to. Well, have you talked to any lenders about trying to secure something on the buy side. Nah, I've got this friend that works at Regions Bank. I can get a loan. Those are the ones that you have to get it in writing
Right.
because everybody thinks they can afford more than they can. Everybody thinks their credit score is higher than it is. Everybody thinks that the debt that they have is not either not going to show up or it's not going to matter. And then they come into a situation like you're saying that, oh gosh, I can't buy a house now. And I just sold my home. I
Yeah.
think it's very smart for somebody. And matter of fact, that could be a niche that anybody puts their house on the market needs to be getting a flyer from you. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you know where you're going. You know you're trying to sell, but can I help you get to where you're going? Have
Yeah.
you had somebody look at that? Most have. I'm not going to say they all have. I'm not going to say they all have not. But I would probably be willing to bet that the biggest majority, just like you said, assume that they can go without a problem. I've been
Right.
paying for my house for 20 years. I don't see an issue. Well, it's not, but you may have more debt. You may have debt that you think is not important, or you may
Yeah.
have some kind of debt load that you need to take care of before you can get a loan. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. People need to do that more. And I guess it's our job as realtors to try to lean them to do that, lean them that way. But just like I say, there's a lot of people that's like, I'm not worried about a mortgage. I can get a mortgage. I pay cash for it if I wanted to.
Right.
Those are the ones you got to watch.
There's truth to that for
Yeah.
sure. But, if anybody wants to sell their home or has a mind to sell their home in the next 6 months, 12 months, anytime, in the near future, and they want to have a no cost consultation, 10, 15-minute phone call with me, they're welcome to call me at any time. I can be reached at 205-979-4412. I'm at extension 1. And I always love having these conversations. I love what I do. I love helping people and I love solving problems. And so, the thing is, if we bump up against something that could slow things down as far as a seller being able to qualify for a new mortgage, that's what I love to do is try to figure out how can we get around that problem? How can we solve that problem and get this seller to become a buyer? And so I'm happy to help out in any way that I can. And, you know, pretty, pretty low pressure conversation with me. So,
Yeah, well, I agree. And it just needs to get out on the table. I mean, I'm the same way. If somebody has a question about their property, let's talk about it. I mean, you've got to be able to get answers by talking about it. And
right,
that's what I'm here for too. I don't want to steer somebody in the wrong direction. But then again, I don't want them doing something that is not smart to do and then come back later to me and say, well, why didn't you tell me?
yeah,
Well, if you would have asked me, I would have told you. And so that's kind of where we are, and just we're in it together to make it all happen. So thank you for your time, Andy. I appreciate it.
thank
Hopefully
you, Ross.
somebody out there will reach out to one of us and see if we can help them and move forward.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I've enjoyed this and always enjoy educating folks and appreciate the opportunity to help you out with this.
Good deal. Thank you for doing it. And folks, if you need anything, either call myself or Andy. Be more than happy to help you. See if we can solve your problems. Thank you.
Thank you.